Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. It's great to have you on the show again. Today is all about our top 20 Nigerian books of 2017. After conducting our own assessments, consulting with publishers, booksellers, book distributors, and getting nominations from viewers and our social media followers, we have come up with 20 books that we consider to be outstanding in terms of quality of production, quality of content, promotional efforts, popularity, and relevance. Of course, lists like this are subjective, but we work hard to ensure the books that make our list can, at the very least, be worthy of anyone's consideration. The books we have selected have been written by Nigerians and published between November 2016 and November 2017. So, here are the Channel's Book Club Top 20 Nigerian Books for 2017.
Against the run of play, how an incumbent president was defeated in Nigeria by Segun Adeniyi. In this book, Segun Adeniyi, a former presidential spokesman for the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, offers insights into human and institutional factors that led up to the defeat of Nigeria's former president Goodluck Jonathan in the country's 2015 presidential elections. This book recalls political developments that made the outcome of Jonathan's loss inevitable, while explaining the factors that took President Buhari to power. One of the core aspects of this book is a set of extensive interviews Adeniyi conducted with living participants in the event in focus. Celebrating D.O. Fagunwa, Aspects of African and World Literary History by Adeleke Adeko and Akin Adesoko. This book explores the life and works of the prolific Yoruba literary genius Daniel Olorunfemi Fagunwa. It's a significant attempt at turning Fagunwa's works into a springboard for scholarly examination of Yoruba literature, religion, philosophy, culture, and politics. Fagunwa, whose classic novels have created myths that have become embedded in much of Yoruba culture, comes alive in this book. Edited by two scholars, Celebrating D.O. Fagunwa makes a compelling attempt at preserving the mind of a man who dedicated his life to creating fiction with a universal theme of human progress. A Platter of Gold by Shupo Shashore. Another classic on Nigeria's contemporary history by Shashore. This is an intriguing book that tells the story of the making of Nigeria between 1906 and 1960. It's a book that goes beyond focusing on the more known characters in the creation of Nigeria, so introducing many of the not-so-famous legends of the Nigerian story. Here, you'll meet the heroic men and women who define Nigeria in many ways, and also learn about critical pre-independence events that led to the inevitable formation of one of Africa's leading states.
I write history, and I guess the inspiration for writing history is to unearth, to discover more about the identity of the people of this part of the country, a part of the world. Nigerian history has always intrigued me because for growing up, it was largely hidden from us in the sense that we didn't really have this level of in-depth knowledge about Nigeria and its making as we did about other countries, for instance, Britain and America, and the world wars that we were all drilled with in our history curriculum. So that's probably where the original inspiration came from. But this particular book is a result of the investigation into the colony of Lagos. So really, this is a continuing story of the creation of Nigeria, which I think started with Lagos. I like to say this book wrote itself in the sense that I didn't set out to write this story. I set out to write about a period of Nigeria's history, following from the end of Possessed, which was 1906. I chose that it would end in 1960 because that was the colonial era, and that was the only thing that was deliberate about what I set out to do. What happens is a story that was told by the people, because it's a historical creation. It's not an act of fiction. So I didn't deliberately choose to de-emphasize anybody, but I was intrigued to find out what I did find out, that this overemphasized big leaders is not true, that these are the big leaders who created Nigeria. Nigeria was created by big moments, not big people. And this is a chronicle of the big moments in Nigeria's history.
The Richer Woman by Omilola Oshikoya is a true story of how a young woman's pursuit of wealth that took her on a journey of self-understanding, adultery, and ultimately the discovery of her purpose. Omilola narrates how she was born in affluence but suffered loss after the death of her grandfather, whose business followed suit. That experience motivated her to become rich at any cost. The narrative about how she fell into temptation and almost destroyed her marriage with infidelity in her desperate pursuit is perhaps the most touching part of this thought-provoking book. Love Does Not Win Elections by Aisha Osori. After getting a law degree from the University of Lagos and Harvard, and also working successfully in the private sector, Aisha dived into the murky waters of Nigerian politics while clutching onto a dream of representing her people in Nigeria's House of Representatives under the People's Democratic Party. Sadly, she lost out after failing to even get the party's nomination at the primaries. Love Does Not Win Elections is her fascinating political memoir, a story that sums up Nigerian politics in many ways. Dear Ijewele, or a Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions by Chimamanda Adichie. Written as a letter to a friend, this non-fiction work by Adichie offers a set of guidelines on how to raise a feminist daughter. Adichie frames her thoughts on feminism and raising children in the form of a letter to one of her friends named Ijewele, who shortly after giving birth to a baby girl had asked the author how to raise her baby girl to be a feminist. Adichie's no-holds-barred suggestions included teach her to love books, never speak of marriage as an achievement, and because you're a girl is never a reason for anything. Coming from one of the most accomplished writers of her generation and a vocal feminist, this is a book you want to read if you have a girl or even a boy to raise.